Welcome to Financial Behavior Thought Leaders. I'm Mary, and this podcast takes you behind the scenes with top speakers in financial services. So whether you're a financial advisor booking a client event, an event planner looking for the perfect keynote, or a financial professional wanting to learn more from industry thought leaders, you're in the right place. Today, we're featuring Christine Moriarty, one of Financial Behavior Keynote Group's exclusive speakers. Christine brings deep expertise in personal finance, entrepreneurship, and business transactions. We'll dive into her keynote on selling a business, why your client needs you long before the first sell sign goes up, and learn how financial advisors play a proactive role in one of the biggest transactions a client may ever make. Thank you so much for being with us today, Christine.
Thanks for having me.
Glad you're here. So I want to start off by asking you a question that we begin with, and that is, where did your journey begin? You've worn a lot of hats over the years. How did you find your way to the stage?
Oh, I think I found my way to the stage as a young child when I was wanting to be a teacher. So I would stand up and teach my younger cousins all the time. But that led to both high school and college. I was in student government and put in situations where I was talking to the board of trustees or doing things. Gratefully, in college, I took a speaking class. So it became more comfort level, what I needed to do. And then I think a personal growth workshop I took in my mid-20s, I had this whole vision for me going to speak, traveling across the country, doing different topics. And someone said, well, what are you going to talk about? And I said, I don't know. And 5 years later, I had my CFP and my MBA in entrepreneurship and some experience. And here I am. Been doing it ever since.
Well, and so let's back up. You started speaking from a very young age. You did go into business yourself. And so tell us a little bit about the business you've built for the last 30 years.
The name of my business is MoneyPeace. Before I started a business and got my MBA, I was auditing for small businesses and for a bigger company, but I'd go into small businesses. They were fantastic at their woodworking or selling furniture or whatever they were doing across a multitude of different industries. However, when I gotten back and saw their books, 9 times out of 10, they weren't in great shape. So when I went and got an MBA, I knew I wanted to be a financial planner, and I was working on my CFP, and I majored in entrepreneurship because I knew that would be my niche for financial planning.
And that's really where your business took off, is in that specific niche of entrepreneurs. And you're an entrepreneur yourself.
Right. I kind of just said, this is what I want to do. I actually had a vision. And this is, one of my taglines in the beginning was great financial ideas start with a vision. And for me, my vision was I want to go live in Vermont. And there weren't a lot of jobs. So I created my own business so I could take it with me. So I started it in Boston, but then I moved to Vermont and just would go back and forth for clients.
So that's very interesting. And you've landed in Vermont. You met your dream and you live in Vermont now year round. Tell us about how that's played such an important role in who you are.
Well, I think 2 parts. One is I model it professionally. So in my professional life, I can say, hey, go for what you want. It's not always easy. Masha Sintar was living in Vermont when she wrote the book, Do What You Want, The Money Will Follow. I will be able to tell clients it's not that easy, but you work hard and it happens. And 2 is, this is my quality of life. I went to the University of Vermont, worked here for a year, knew that this fit. Even though I grew up a Boston girl with that accent that I still own, and I was more drawn to the mountains to go skiing or camping or hiking or play in the water. It's a natural fit. I don't go away on weekends much anymore because I live where I want to be.
Well, and I think that's one of the things, as knowing you for these last several years, is you really don't just tell people, you model that behavior in MoneyPeace. I mean, let's be honest, the name of your company is you work to create peaceful financial plans. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. And I think that's important. And it, as part of that flow into MoneyPeace, I let them know, had I stayed in Boston, I would have made a lot more money. And I wouldn't be as happy and peaceful and grateful as I am now. Maybe I would be, but it's a lot easier when you're living where you want and doing what you want. And so that's what money's for, to create the lives we want, not to try and match some external status symbol or vision or someone else's idea of what's right for us. And so money's an inside job.
Yeah, I love that. Let's talk about that a little further, because you really dig in not just to business transactions and transitions, but also financial wellness and values-based planning. So I want to dig into that a little more. Why is that so important for advisors in this day and age?
No, it's always been important for advisors, but they didn't know it until now. It's becoming much more common. When I started in financial planning 30 plus years ago, it was a foreign concept. I mentioned that personal growth workshop I did years ago, and I continued that journey. And then when I started my business, I was so confused. People had all the information. They trusted me. They knew what to do, and they would come back in my office the next time and hadn't done it. And I started a different tactic because I had MoneyPeace. It was my own business. I could approach anything as I wanted. I forget about all the questionnaires. I just sat down and talked to them about what their choices were, where they wanted to be in 5 years, what they were thinking, what their family was like. And then we crafted answers for them that were more personalized, and their comfort level then made them take action. So it was pretty ironic. I thought I was doing this separate path of personal growth and starting a financial planning business, and they came back in together.
Well, I want to dig into that a bit more. Of you sit down, you have these conversations that are not just check the box or multiple choice for clients. How did you see that change with your clients on the outcomes? How did that make a difference?
Oh, a huge difference. I mean, tons of referrals. People called me when they wanted to know things. They weren't afraid to call me because they knew me. They talked to me. They weren't uncomfortable telling me everything from their son was on drugs to they just blew money on a car that they know they really didn't need. They were more transparent because they realized the human side of money because we had talked about it. And I had, talked about money being more than just building cash. They also had fun because they were building towards something they wanted. Like, I saw nothing wrong with a woman who was in college debt opening an account that she could save and help save money to buy a inn. That's what she wanted. Another couple I worked with, she was a business owner and had inconsistent cash flow. And they were like, really, we'd love for our 10th anniversary to go to Wimbledon. I said, great, let's set up an account and make that happen. They're like, we can't do that. We have young kids. We, inconsistent money from business, all these reasons. I said, well, let's try. If you don't get it there for your 10th anniversary, you'll get there for your 12th. And it really motivated them to organize their cash flow. When they got extra money from their business, they knew where they wanted to put it because they had thought ahead. And I wasn't saying go put it in retirement. I was saying go enjoy life now. Like, there's a balance. They were still putting money away for the kids' college because they did that every month from his salary. They were still feeding, and clothing their children and themselves. It was like, oh, there is a little extra money. And they did ask one of their parents to watch the kids while they went to Wimbledon. And they were so happy after that they started planning for other vacations, both as a family and together alone. And that, I think, helped them create MoneyPeace. And, it wasn't about me. It did tie that, clients always say it's like you're marriage counselor, financial therapist. They assigned me all these wellness coach, but it really was about them finding their way.
Well, and what I really hear is you're a believer in other people's dreams. Like you believe in them as much, and you're going to help them on that path to get there.
Absolutely. And that's so fun. Listen to that story of Wimbledon. And I know that was 20 years ago,
Yeah.
but it makes me happy to know they did that. I just have no desire to go to Wimbledon, but it was really cool to hear about it.
Yeah, and just having that experience to be able to share on. So let's dive into more experiences, and I want to dive into your keynote experience. You have a keynote called Selling a Business, Why Your Client Needs You Long Before the First Sale Sign Goes Up. What is the core message of this?
It's really the art of selling a business starts when you start your business. So the art of selling a business is really not just about, oh, I want to sell in a couple of years. You
Mhm.
have to create the vessel that is going to be sold. And too many clients don't get prepared for it. And one of the things I think financial advisors are hesitant at is to talk to clients about business. One of my first major talks was for NAFA in 2000, it was 2000, I think, was on how to write a business plan. Because a business plan is what I really focused on in grad school. One of the first parts of a business plan is, what's your exit strategy?
Mm.
And too many business owners don't pay attention to that. So as financial advisors, our clients typically believe their exit strategy is selling their business, and that will be their retirement plan. Won't they be happy? There may or may not be value in that business, and there's ways to set up more value in that business. There's ways to manage the cash flow that makes it a more profitable business for the people. So I want to help financial advisors ask the right questions. There's a lot of advisors out there who don't ask the questions because they don't have the education or experience to do it, but then they're missing out on an opportunity to get assets under management if that's their model.
Yeah.
Because someone else can step in and work with them on their assets, the money from the sale of the business. There's other people who help clients with every step of the way and fee only planning or more consulting style like I've done. And if they're not asking about their business, then that client is never going to come to them and ask them questions about the business. So, and after they sell their business, in the process of and after, it's more complex. There's
Mhm.
emotional feelings, there's financial wealth or changes. If we can get financial advisors to understand the worth of asking these questions, we can not only help the advisor in the way of getting more work, getting a better and deeper relationship with a client, but we can help the clients. I've seen clients who want to take their retirement funds and start a business. And if financial advisors aren't talking to them about business before then, it's a mistake. I've seen business owners telling me they're going to co-sign a document for a loan. And I say to the wife, do you know about this? Half the time they don't. And half the time the couple isn't talking about the business. And yet both their futures are tied up in it. So I really think our assets and mental health is for clients understanding their business and the role, and we can be guides in that and coaches.
Yeah, and one of the things I'm hearing you say is the fact that as a financial planner, I heard it said once that you're the quarterback of the football team. And in that case, you're working with multiple professionals, but you're also seeing the whole play even before that play is played out. And so I'm hearing you say in this position, especially with clients with small businesses, which let's be honest, there's a lot of our clients that have small businesses, it's important to not just manage the personal asset side, but really be involved from day one on the business side as that quarterback, right? Of helping them foresee what's coming down the road before it even happens.
And
How do you do that?
There's a couple of ways. One is you want to talk to them about what happens if you drop dead. I mean, it's nothing anyone wants to talk about, but in the reality, if only one person is running the business, or only one person signs all the checks, or their estate plan isn't set up correctly,
what happens?
I want to say it's a recipe for disaster, but it's beyond disaster for the family that's left. And trying to untangle that or run the business, especially if it's expertise business. So that's one piece. The second piece is talk to a business person about their cash flow. I cannot tell you how many clients that say, oh, I can only, my accountant, and I love accountants, said, oh, pay myself as little as possible, so I don't have to pay Social Security taxes. And I go, wait a minute, there's another way to look at this. So then they can't put as much in retirement. They're not going to get Social Security. There's a whole host of other things. But the biggest one, Mary, is they don't have any routine for taking money out.
Yeah.
That is the bigger danger if you're trying to create MoneyPeace. You need some consistent flow. It's better to take something that's consistent than trying to say, oh, I'm just taking as little as possible when I can, and that's better. You need a plan. Often I tell clients, take a paycheck, and then quarterly, you can take a bigger distribution that aligns with your accountant and the FICA, but then you can have a plan for those quarterly distributions. It's interesting. Once I talk to most accountants, they're totally understanding and may even agree, or at least not protest. I see the point. So business owners need that quarterback that you're talking about to handle that situation. And the flip side, as they're getting ready to sell, someone needs to be the quarterback to say, hey, you might need a different lawyer to help you handle this. You might need a different accountant to help you handle this. You may need to talk to some charitable organizations and set up some fund before all this transitions. You can put in some of the corporate stock in there now, save some money for the transaction. There's so many different moving pieces that have to be reviewed. And business owners underestimate how much time it's going to take. So by being on their team, you're going to make it easier on them, but you're also going to make sure all the boxes get ticked and the puzzles get put in the right order in place.
Which, by the way, the whole time is solidifying that relationship, right?
Correct.
You're showing your value by not just managing one small portion of it, but overseeing and helping them manage the entirety of the portfolio, which does include the business.
Right. But some people think, oh, isn't included under my asset fee, so I don't have to deal with it. It's like, well, then where are they going to go when the business does sell?
Yeah.
So
great point.
It's knowing what your expertise is. And if you're not the right person, I really have great respect for any professional who says, this is not my field. However, let me get Christine in here, or, an advisor from ABC Consulting to help you with this, to guide you along the way. Whoever it is, that is a helpful role of a financial person as well.
Well, and we all know every great presentation has a great story to go along with it. And I can hear in your conversation, you have lots of stories because you've done this a lot with clients. So maybe you give us a little highlight of the story that really resonates in this talk.
Beyond the Wimbledon one, I think I had another client who sold their business, and it almost became fun for me, because it was a multimillion-dollar business. She did need a different accountant, just temporarily for the sale. She was working with the VCs, venture capitalists who were helping her negotiate all this. And she was giving money away. So something near and dear to my heart. So she was structuring the business to make sure some of the stock and some of her future income went directly into a family foundation. And that really showed all these pieces had to happen at the same time. And so having that quarterback in me to make sure this got done and that got done and helped her one less thing on the mind. Well, she's trying to sign the papers, make sure the business stays running. I mean, think about that. If you're selling a business, it has to be continually running and keeping up the numbers to maintain the sales, no matter what's going on in the economy. So that was one of them. And we kind of talked about that. Another business, and this is the flip side, was what I referred to earlier. Someone who said, oh, I'll sell my business and then I'll have retirement. And they came to me about 5 years from retirement. And over the time that I built some trust, asked some questions, it was apparent that they were their business. They were a media photographer. And I'm like, what are you selling? Because your equipment, you are it. You don't have any employees. So it's raising people's opinion. And then I'm going to squeeze in one more because I live in Vermont, which tends to be a small town. And I bumped into a client a couple of weeks ago, and I've always made the policy of not telling anyone who my clients are, but he came up to me when we were out and I was so delighted to see him. And we had sat down. I had asked him, 16, 18 years ago, bring in your financials. He goes, oh, my bookkeeper does them. I said, I know, we'll bring them in. And had said, let's look at them. And he goes, oh, I don't really look at them. So by walking through what his net worth, what his income was, he set some really big goals about making a 6-figure income and then a 7-figure, in sales for his business. And he reached it once he had the tangible numbers in front of him. So that was really fun. It can be done with any size business.
Good. Well, and it sounds like there's so many things, even in the details, right? That's what you're there for, is to really help them. Again, believer in other people's goals. Like you're believing in what they want to do and accomplish, and you're helping them get there by the small and simple things along the way. That's a lot of us as planners just overlook, or even business owners don't think about.
Right. Because they're so busy doing the business. You're so busy as advisors or behavior therapists talking about behavior and thoughts that you forget sometimes to just look at what's in front of you. But
that's right in front of you. Yeah.
The number, totally. They make a real difference in a business, and can make a real difference in a business if it should continue. Because sometimes I've looked at business numbers and said, this isn't sustainable.
Yeah. Which also can be helpful in that approach as well, because then it releases some of the burden that they've been carrying for a while.
Right.
I love it. Christine, we're going to shift gears on this last question. You have such an approachable way with money, and you've spent time working with people, giving them thoughtful reflection. I want to know, what is behind all this? Most of our audiences don't know what shapes you to be so approachable and finding the peace. So what is it that really matters to you?
Well, aside from the personal growth work and inner work that I've done on my own self, which I can recommend to anyone, it's, my dad ran a business. I saw things from the inside. He did a very good job. I not only had the experience, the education, but I saw what reflected back when it went successfully. And that made me want to run a business successfully. And that made me want to do it my way and really look at what's important, which is why, other than for a couple of years in Boston working for some of the big accounting firms, I've never gone to work for anyone else, because I already knew what I wanted to do and had a real sense of how I wanted to do it. In that, I like to write and share about it. As I said, I wanted to be a school teacher as a child, and I am now cruising through some 200 journals I have to pass them on to the universe and keep warm in a fire somewhere that I've written over the years. So I'm a writer on topics and a speaker, and it all comes from taking the time to look inside of what I wanted.
Well, and I love that it's a generational thing, right? You learned this from your own father and you're paying it forward. In fact, I've seen that in how you've interacted here is you've always paid it forward to help the next generation, to help the next person. Just make it a little bit further than what the past generation did. And I love that about you.
Thank you very much, Mary. It's a joy to help others.
Well, we love having you here. And if you're looking for a speaker who brings both heart and strategy to the complexities of business transitions, someone who helps your audience think about long-term about their clients' legacies, Christine is the perfect fit. You can learn more and book Christine at financialbehaviorthoughtleaders.com. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week with another leading voice in financial services.